Hey, ooh,
We're live,
we're live.
Woo!
Hey,
Live and kicking. So,
that's it.
welcome everyone to this very special webinar, the first one in a series of six with Chris Simmons.
Hello.
Chris, we are talking about something very specific, but then you're going to introduce it later on a bit because
Yeah.
we are going to let people join first. So, we're going to save a few minutes for
Mhm.
last minute people come in and to join us to hear everything about all of this. And I'm going to put away my phone so it doesn't vibrate.
I have this ritual where I put everything on silent and do not disturb, and then I remember what if someone's trying to get hold of me because of this something related to the webinar. So then I put my phone near me, and then I'm like, no, that's going to buzz on the desk, and yeah,
Yeah, the buzz on the desk, exactly
that's it.
that.
That's it.
So, everyone who is here watching us live today, could you please just tell us where you're from? Because it kind of feels lonely for me and Chris to just sit here and talk to each other. We enjoy that though
Fine.
as well, but
Yeah.
so, but please tell us where are you watching us from? It's also nice to see who you are, etc.
It's nice to see you in sunny / not dark Sweden as well.
I like that too.
Yeah.
I like Sweden at the moment. Yeah, it's very sunny, so the sun does not really set at the moment.
That's kind of weird, right? So you go to bed in the light as well.
Yep, yep. You get used to it.
Parker all the way over in Vancouver.
Oh, fantastic. Hello, Canada.
Yeah, that's
So, oh, Utah. Cool. And Brooklyn. That is
wow. We got
welcome, everyone.
hopefully you can cope over there and from all the way over in the North American continent with a Swede accent and a British accent for this entire webinar. We'll
Yes.
do our best, you guys.
Apologies for my kind of crude Swede accent. In my head, it's American. And then I hear myself on a recording and I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. That
I mean,
is
I
not
like the sound of my voice that I hear. Then I hear my voice back, and no, it's not.
exactly that.
Like when you hear
Exactly that.
your own voice recording on a voice note or something. Sri
Yeah.
Lanka, crikey, that's a long way away.
Yes. Oh, welcome.
Amazing.
So, for you who hasn't met Chris before, and I'm gonna introduce him properly. But Chris is a geek in
Yeah.
when it comes to techies, gadgets. What's your latest? What's your latest techie
Okay,
gadget,
so
Chris?
I love this. So just 1 second.
He really loves this.
I'm going to do the webinar like this.
Oh my
All
god, they are so
here,
cool.
all the slides are here somehow. Got to
Yeah,
turn it on, but it's pretty good.
yeah, that's good. I
That's
need
the
to get
latest.
a pair of these as well.
I mean, every time I buy a new thing I mean, none of these things are cheap. And every
No.
time I spend any money like this, it's one more thing that's definitely going to go on the divorce filings in the future. We couldn't eat once because you bought this thing.
No, that's not never going to happen, you know. So before we kick off and I'll introduce you properly, I just want to say thank you to Duda for letting us do this. And yeah, so Anton is on vacation right now, and we have Felipe to help us. So we
We're
are a
going to be
bit on
naughty,
like
Anton. If you're watching
we.
this, we're going to be naughty.
No, we're going to be good. We're going to behave anyways. So okay, let's kick this off. So I am Ulrika Wiberg. I'm an agency owner, and here in Sweden, I run an SEO agency called Unicorn. Yeah, I've been doing that for a couple of years, and we're in a decent size. We actually have help from one of the best agency accelerators in the world. I would say. I don't know. I only had tried one, so I don't know.
Who's that?
I don't know. It
Hmm.
might be actually the one and only Chris Simmons we
Hey.
have here, who is the founder of the OMG Center, also called the Agency Accelerator.
That's it.
I think that is a hard thing for me to say as a Swede.
Well, you did it very well.
Okay, thank you. So Chris has over a decade of leadership experience in digital marketing and agency advisory. And he has his own skills in crafting semi-bespoke acceleration programs, specifically designed to turbocharge your agency growth. And his focus is simple yet profound, and you will read about them later on, to help agency leaders to get more money, more time, less stress, more quickly. Ta-da! I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
I do. So we have been talking a lot about these things, but please enlighten the audience about your knowledge.
Well, let's see how you feel after a good few slides. Yeah. So as Ulrika said, I'm Chris Mance, the founder of the OMG Centre. We are an accelerator for digital agencies, essentially helping you get, like Ulrika said, more time, more money, less stress, and more quickly. It's essentially de-risking that growth with a proper plan that's helped along by accountable processes, building the right leadership structures and systems, and getting kind of that mentorship advice at the right time, as and when you need it. Ulrika, you know, everyone who's in here knows. I know from running an agency or two at the same time, which was crazy. I know for a fact that there are things that pop up in the process of growing your agency, which sometimes you just kind of wish that you had someone to ask, hey, is that right? Or I'm planning to do this. And part of the accelerator to de-risk kind of decision making is to have someone to talk to. So you're more than welcome to reach out on LinkedIn, Twitter, and so on after here. If you've got any questions, more than happy to help. That's me, I think.
Yeah.
Ulrika, though, you did a terrible introduction to yourself because you are an agency owner and you are in Sweden, and you do have an agency called Unicorn. However, you have a team of incredible unicorns, and every single one of you are ridiculously clever at all of the things you do. And I know for a fact, because I've worked with you, how much energy you bring to this industry. You do. And I think that running a boutique agency is arguably harder than trying to grow like a giant agency with hundreds of staff, because when you're really good, you have lots of people coming to you all the time to want to work with, and you have to say no quite a lot. And I know that you do.
Yeah.
So that's a better intro for you next time.
Okay. But I'm from Sweden. We don't, do that.
No,
we don't know how to.
I'm known for my modesty, obviously.
That's why I have you.
Indeed. Yeah, exactly. Are we good to get on with the show?
Yes, please do. Please start. I think that without further ado.
I didn't press any buttons, but they came up. Magic, guys. So today we're going to talk about some of the top tactics to build a foundation for your digital agency. None of this is something that there's lots of stuff which is going to sound a little bit like repetition, but it's basically to push that mindset of consistency. I've got this kind of overriding sensation that the majority of success comes from consistently doing stuff well. You don't have to be the best at everything, but if you're consistently good at something, the results will come in and the value will show. We're going to talk about people-based things. We're going to talk about management-based things. We're going to talk about planning and strategic stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about balancing things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about how some of these things will affect the foundations of your agency, and a few tips or a few things to avoid as we go through. I know that there's the chat there, so always ask any questions, and I'm sure that the good ones and the nice friendly questions will be put up on the screen, and Ulrika will shout at me and interrupt me the whole way through with cool things to take me off topic and crazy stuff like that. So hello, this is me. I told you earlier, I'm very modest, so there's definitely loads of pictures of me throughout this entire webinar. I accelerate the growth of agencies. I've got two really cool helpers. There they are. They say hello too. I'm afraid they can't come on webinars, mainly because they can't talk, but also because they'd be a massive nuisance and very loud, especially if the doorbell goes. I learned that the other week. The sound does travel through most of the soundproofing in this house. So let's build as solid a foundation for an agency as we can today. Agencies boil down to one fundamental thing. They are a people business. People buy your services, people deliver your services, and people buy from the people who receive your services. The people that buy your services need to understand what you're delivering. The people who deliver your services need to understand the people they're delivering it for. Otherwise, the people who buy from those people will not understand or be able to buy those things. So people buying your services, I love this phrase. I can never remember where I first heard it, but a confused mind doesn't buy. And I think I've said this a million times a week.
It's brilliant.
It just underpins the fact that we always overcomplicate things to a point where you get nods in a room, nods in a meeting, and then something somewhere doesn't tick off. That might well be in pitches. You might lose a pitch because you've over-engineered it or you've made it too complex. You haven't necessarily got down to the kernel of what it is that someone wants. You might be confused as to the way that you explain your services. You might think, okay, we've got this really niche way of delivering something, but the way you explain it actually ends up essentially devaluing the way that a client understands it and sees it. The problem with most agencies, and I think almost every agency that has ever started has had this problem, and that it is that we need to make sure that when you're building a foundation for an agency, you only sell what you can deliver. Now, that sounds really obvious. I'm not saying stuff like things you buy from freelancers or things that you have over as SaaS solutions. I'm saying if you're really good at digital marketing and SEO, only do SEO. Don't offer email services. If you are a web developer and you are building great Duda websites, only build great Duda websites. Don't try and deliver something that you can't sell, because you will not be able to convert those people very well. And often, because you don't know that service so well, you take the money and you lose the client. It ends up causing some problems. So only sell what you can deliver. The problem with this often comes in early doors, and the foundational aspect of this that I wish I could go back in time and speak to every agency owner when they're first starting. I did this and it hurt me. It's trying to be all things to all people, but it ends up giving everyone a big headache. So I'm talking about if your agency website says we do all digital marketing services for every sector and every industry, and you've got a sectors page and you've got 15 services that you deliver, unless you're an agency of 200 staff with different departments, which are essentially mini agencies, it's very, very difficult to not make that complexity cause problems for you. So from a foundational level, keep things as simple as you can in terms of the way you explain them, the way that you sell them. Only sell what you can actually deliver, and don't do stuff just for the sake of trying to be everything. If a client comes to you and says, hey, can you do email? Well, yes, I've got a MailChimp account, and yes, I've used it once in my life or whatever. It doesn't mean you should be selling the service. You probably won't lose the client by saying no, but you'll definitely lose the client if you say yes and then you don't deliver it very well. So not essentially all three of the people buying your services fundamentals at the foundational level. Not being clear about what you're selling may get the client over the line, but expectations will be wrong, and then you'll lose the client, and that is more expensive than keeping the client because it's cost you money to get there. Don't deliver or deliver differently than what you said. And again, expectation management, but also if you're trying to sell services or deliver services which you can't offer or you don't have control over or you don't understand fully, the client will eventually find that out, or you will eventually find it out because the client will churn. If you offer everything, it creates complexity. How many times in anyone's industry have you ever seen the PPC account perfectly match up with the SEO account, which perfectly matches up with the web development on the site, all at the exact same time? Internally, that's a lot of complexity. You then add in complexity with the clients and the market and the industry and changes in Google and changes in web, and it causes client churn because complexity is something that you can't control if you deliver everything to everyone. So that's people buying your services. The fundamental piece here is keep it simple. People who deliver your services, similarly, a confused mind doesn't buy. Now, when you have a team, regardless of how senior or junior they are, they need to know who they are, what they're doing, and what you expect from them, and what they should expect from you. if if they don't fully understand what they are accountable for delivering in your agency, you have a mismatch of expectations. Either something doesn't get delivered to a client, or more gets delivered to a client from a perspective of you over service, and that costs the margins on the agency. You might have the expectation that I am a landing page developer for PPC campaigns, and that's all I do. And then a request comes in that isn't for you, and you upset the client, or you upset internally because you don't do the work. Vice versa. If you have a team and you don't make the expectations clear, it's going to be difficult. So from this perspective, make it clear what your people are supposed to do. They need to be able to get the job, like they need to understand what they're supposed to do. They have to want to do the job. So don't confuse them. And they need to be able to do their job. And if they don't really know expressly what they're supposed to do, then it's very hard. And that means that you need to have a consistency around job specs, job levels, and hierarchies and things like that, and the ways that things are accountably laid out.
I mean, that is very, very down to key, like what a team does, really, isn't it? Or like a team player, knowing what I am supposed to do and knowing what my strengths are, and that will then turn out in the business and showing in the results to the clients, etc., etc. And this, in the end, has a big impact in the agency growth, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's hired someone that they kind of regret hiring in the past, and it may well be that they weren't a fit for the agency, or they weren't a fit at the right time, or they were just not good at what they did. But oftentimes, if they didn't necessarily completely understand what your expectations of them were, because they were confused as to exactly where they sat in the agency, their performance is your fault. So at a fundamental level, a foundational level, your first hire through to your last ever hire, there needs to be a consistency in how you communicate expectations. Equally on that front around consistency, there needs to be a consistency in process and a balance in processes. So consistency of process means that the same type of work gets done consistently well, so a client understands what they're getting, and you can hone your skills and hone the quality of the delivery. But in terms of balance, if you've got an absolute expert, top of their game, really senior person, and you give them 100-point checklist as a process, you're stopping them from being creative, which you've paid them to do. You've stopped them from being great at their job, and they're just following a checklist. You can't do that. So you need to, the consistency aspect is to show them what good looks like. This is the quality that we're expecting to give to the client. This is the outcome we're expecting. You go away now and do it the way that you want, as long as the outcome is the same and it costs the same to deliver. If you've got juniors, or you've got lower execs in the team who are learning, or who are junior in their career, you need to have a more rigorous set of processes, because you need to also maintain consistency of delivery whilst also balancing against the fact that they don't have the experience. So when you're building your agency, the first thing that you'll want to do when you're hiring people is go, right, I'm going to build some processes, and everyone's going to do it exactly how I want. And it's going to be 30 bullet points, and it's going to be in Asana or some Google Doc or Notion or something like that. You need to make sure it's consistently able to be repeatedly done without you turning your service into a product. And balance.
Maybe you're going to elaborate about this more further on, but how do you, as an agency owner, build a culture that nurtures the creativity and the ownership and the accountability within the team that eventually creates this?
The best way that I've ever found that this can be done is by having the team help build the processes. The leader of the department or the leader of the business maintains the final decision on, is this good enough or does this fit? And the team will set what those rules are. So you'll put the goals at the end of the pitch, and they will draw the lines on the football pitch, for example. Once they've drawn the lines, they're more likely to want to stay within the lines, but you've also been able to build a tolerance there for juniors to be able to follow it and get consistent outcome, and seniors to be able to follow it in order to maintain consistent deliverables without hamstringing them. If you manage performance and maintain performance all the time, and again, consistently, then you will end up having a team that are generally happy. They will understand when they've not done as well. They will also understand when they are doing well. You will get more out of people if you are consistently delivering the same kind of tone of voice and the same adherence to standards. People need to know what they should expect from you. So, for example, if I don't know what my role is, I might leave the company. If it's too complex or too broad as a process, I'm going to get stressed. I'm going to do something wrong. Someone's going to shout at me. I might leave the company. And if I'm inconsistently managed or not looked after in the same way, imagine if you came home one day and you got shouted at for one thing, and you came home the next day with the exact same scenario and nothing happened, you will feel inconsistent. You won't know where you stand, and you might leave the company. Staff are really expensive, but like to recruit staff, it is really expensive. They are your biggest asset in any single agency ever. If you lose staff that you've invested time in training and building up relationships with clients, it is expensive. So you will lose staff if you inconsistently manage them, or you hamstring them in processes, or you make it hard for them to understand. It gets frustrating, like that guy. So as a people business, just remember that happy people deliver their best work and consistently. People who are usually happier, they often kind of know what you expect from them, and you know what to expect from each other each way. But happy people who know where they stand in an agency are happy to deliver work for clients, and clients are also happy to be treated in a certain way. So that kind of expectation management is hugely essential with agencies. And as a fundamental level, you need to know, what am I delivering, and am I an expert in that, in order to be able to maintain process and consistency and expectations. So something which I struggle with a lot, agencies struggle with a lot, everyone struggles with this, and it's because of the intangible aspect. Most delivery from most agencies is a service and not a product. Yet we try and turn them into products by reporting in a consistent way with some spreadsheet and some graphs. And we try and turn it into a product by making 50-step accountable processes, which essentially product and commoditize a deliverable. The problem with that is it loses clients really quick, because clients don't stay just because they're getting results. I don't know how many, every single person in that's watching this right now, I have experience with this. I'm sure you've got experience with this, where a client who's getting great results still leaves. And it's because they are looking for results, but they don't necessarily feel the results. So client management is an absolute art form that you need to get used to. So proper account management processes are just as, if not more important sometimes, than actually delivering great results. The scary thing is you have to ask your clients regularly for feedback, and your staff regularly for feedback, because if you don't know the temperature of your clients, it will be a shock when they leave, even if they're getting good results, and it will feel bad. All of us do these jobs because we want to do these jobs, and we don't like finding out that someone doesn't like what we've done, especially if there's a big green arrow pointing up and a number that's bigger than another number. Why can't they understand that? This isn't fair. I've done a really good job here, yet they're leaving, and they say that it's not about price. It's like, well, okay, it's probably because they don't feel the result of what you're doing. So you're selling something that is invisible. If you're delivering a service, and that's often things as well from a web dev point of view, that's often things that are intangible, like maintenance and updates and little tweaks and maintenance hours and stuff like that, as well as with SEO and PPC. You're selling something that's invisible. Even though it's 2023, a huge amount of the population of this planet do not see value in pixels. And they don't understand it. And if they don't understand it because it's intangible, make it flipping tangible. Make it tangible. And we'll talk about how to do that in a second. But
that is not a small task.
No, it isn't. It's really hard to make an intangible thing tangible. But you can do some things we'll talk about over in a second. So fundamental, foundational things, some client management tips, which you can take away straight away today. Regular communication is absolutely essential with clients. And it's not just like their monthly check-in or their quarterly review or something along those lines. I'm talking like little mini check-ins once in a while, ad hoc. So what we used to do when we had like 40, 50 clients at one point was every client would always have a weekly check. We would check like, rankings up or down or whatever else. But once a month at a random date in the month, one of those clients would be checked and we'd find something interesting to show them. We take a screenshot and we say, hey, Bob, just looking at the site today and spotted this really cool thing. And Bob didn't know that it was actually standardized and it was over and it was timed and that person was doing it intentionally. Bob thought, wow, they're actually working on my site. I wasn't even thinking about that for the day. This is great. Regular communication makes them feel special. Special people don't look for problems in intangible things. If they're not looking for value because they feel it, then they're not going to leave because they don't understand the value. You have to make clients feel special. And I'm not saying lick their boots or take them to dinner every 6 months. What I'm saying is things like listening on a call, and a proper client manager will listen on a call and hear, we went out for when you're doing the preamble at the beginning of a call. Oh yeah, we went out for my wife and I, we had our wedding anniversary this weekend. So we went out to dinner, and you say, oh, that's lovely. Happy anniversary, etc. Write it down. The following year, you say to the same person around that period, have a lovely anniversary. Hope you have happy anniversary or something, or birthdays or those sorts of things. If you make them feel special because they are things not connected to the thing you deliver, they believe that you have their interests in mind, and you probably do because it's very hard to fake these kinds of things. But as a good client manager and a good account manager, you will remember milestones. We used to do like 100 days of love. It was really, I'm a marketing guy, so 100 days of love. So day 30, rather than just having to pay their invoice, they got like a box of chocolates come through the post that says, we really enjoy working with you. Day 60, we'd send a thing in the post again, and day 90 would be 3 months in, and they'd come for their QBR meeting. We'd either go to them or the other way around, and we would bring cupcakes, or we'd do something that makes them feel a bit special. Doing stuff like that, this is secret sauce here, guys. If you go to your clients, get online, you can find them all over the world. Those little rice paper things that go on top of cakes. Somewhere in every country is a company which puts branded logos on them. Buy as many as you can, and every time you go and see a client, take a box of cupcakes which you buy from the shop, put the logos on the top, give them to the client, keep them sealed, and when you leave the office, they'll open them all up and they go, oh my God, this is amazing. They'll tweet about it, they'll share them with other teams. That then keeps you in good graces with them. So when results aren't so good, they don't go, oh no, these guys are rubbish. You make them feel special. Making your work tangible, as we said a minute ago, it's bloody hard. It's really hard. So you connect things that mean things to them versus the results. So instead of saying you've had 1,000 more sessions to your site this month, you say 1,000 more sessions means 50 more people buying widgets. Rather than just saying 50 people have bought more widgets this month, you say 50 more widgets sold means your cost per acquisition is lower. Would you like us to be able to spend a bit more cash on this next month? Or you mentioned the other week that you were looking to hire a head of XYZ. Because of the results this month, it looks like that role is going to be able to be filled much more cheaply, or something like that. You connect it to something they actually understand, because they are not coming to you to build a website, to do PPC, to do SEO or email or any of those things because they understand it fully. They understand it enough to know they need some support, but they don't understand the numbers. And what we have as a problem in this industry is we send big old PDFs with loads of graphs and loads of numbers and a single paragraph that says, this month, this went up, which is great. You've got to say it went up because, and we intend to do this afterwards, and you create a nice story around it.
I mean, all of this kind of, for me, sounds like, don't look from far away. Don't do the work on your office. Come to the client, show that they're special, that we care about you and your work and your success.
That's it.
And then we're going to work doing that with you. I love that.
When times are tough, every business will always look for a place to cut costs. If you are an essential part of their business, they will not try and cut costs, especially if they understand what you're deliverin's value. If they don't understand the value, you're just another cost line in their profit and loss statements.
Yeah.
So if you can make it tangible, the stuff we do affects change elsewhere in the business, then that's what you need to do. The hard, scary thing, and a good friend of ours at OMG, one of our advisors, who's all she talks about is this in a good way, is get feedback. Feedback is your friend. It's scary though, because you're essentially kind of asking your partner, do I look good in this dress, kind of thing. And there's some easy, simple ways to do this. Don't let feedback with a client or internally be a surprise. Don't let it be a surprise. You onboard the client and you say, at month 3, when you get your report, you're also going to get a link to a Net Promoter Score survey or to a survey about the services, so they know they're getting it. They don't feel like they have to complete it, but they can if they want to. Equally, if it's not a surprise, that if they know it's coming, then you don't feel so bad sending it. It sounds simple.
More like a process.
It's exactly take that like feeling that you're asking for. I remember thinking, send a feedback survey. That's an invite for someone to find a problem. Often it isn't. Yes, more people will write a complaint than they will write praise, but if you're making a process out of it, that's fine. Share the results of all of these things internally, because then your team will know you're invested in improving things, you're invested in stuff. You share the results of your survey without manipulating it, and the team will trust you. Obviously, where you can, anonymize things so it doesn't make it look like a member of the team isn't performing or a department isn't performing as well. You anonymize it and aggregate things. So you'd say our Net Promoter Score is 38 out of 100 or something like that. We need to do these things in order to solve that. And then you share those outcomes externally. So you will say to clients, thanks very much for the feedback this quarter. The Net Promoter Score was 38. It was 39 last time. We're working on some stuff. Here is the list of things we're going to do to improve that. Thank you for your custom. The cool thing is sharing outcomes internally and externally helps you retain clients more than, believe it or not, not asking them for feedback. If you've got great scores from surveys, you can use them in marketing. You can say, we've got a great Net Promoter Score, or you can say 9 out of 10 customers would recommend us. All of those things will be great outcomes of doing the scary thing and saying, do you love me? And you'll feel great when you get these results. And especially if you say to a client, thanks so much for the honest feedback. That's really helped person in this team improve something, and actually
of course, using it,
taking a training course, and they're really happy about something that they were formerly nervous about, and it just makes people feel brilliant. Client management is the thing that protect you when the results aren't as good. If the results are great and client management is not great, you'll still lose your client. So trying to make some of these invisible things a little bit more visible. Tie the results that you have to tangible things. So, like I said earlier, the impact of doing this is related to the thing that's in your business that you definitely can see or feel or hear. If you report impacts and not just numbers, they will understand their reports better. If I see one more agency report that says that's a massive what's it called now, Looker Studio thing that's just loads of numbers, that's why you're clients. That's why you churn clients, because you just give them a looks fancy, but it's a load of numbers and that's meaningless. If you report that the numbers have XYZ impact, they get it, they want it, they'll understand it, they'll ask where their report is. If you talk about the plans and strategies that you have related to results and things like that in a story format, they'll understand it. People are innately connected to stories. So this year, it's now the summer season, which means children are off school. You run a B2B business. The results are your visibility is much higher. However, the traffic is lower, not because of seasonality, but because seasonality. But you can then tie this to a tangible thing and say, however, traffic is actually higher year over year than it was last year because visibility has reduced the impact of lower traffic at this time of the year, which actually means you've got more leads in your pipeline this quarter. Going into Christmas, everyone's likely to get their bonus customer, client, etc.
That is fantastic. I really like that as well. Not just reporting on the numbers, even though you have a story about that, telling about the report and everything, but tell why is it important, what's the impact for you, and what does it mean, etc.
Exactly. It's so, if you tie things together and you have a thread, this all kind of boils down to people at business again. If you care about the results of a client, then it's not numbers you need to report. It's the thing that makes them have the impact that allows them to stay clients. So again, clients don't normally leave you because of performance. They often leave because they don't feel value, or will go with someone that articulates the value of what they do slightly better. So make sure whatever you do at a foundational level of your agency, you make it clear, tangible, consistent, and then clients will stay. Every time you get a new client, you'll know they'll stay longer than the previous clients because you've made things clear and tangible, and it's consistently so.
Yeah.
It's really not that stressful, though, to run an agency if you've got a plan for where you're going. It's a stressful business. It's a stressful industry. But if you've got a long horizon and you know where you're aiming for in 3-5 years' time, it's a lot less stressful when you know where you're going. So if I know in 3 years' time, I'm going to have this many clients, this many staff, this much revenue, this much net profit, I'm going to be delivering these services to this niche industry or this niche service to this many different industries, you don't end up living in this important and not urgent box. That's that top left one where it's usually unplanned and it's usually very reactive. That unplanned, very reactive box is the scary box. That's the box that you wake up on a Sunday night at 11 p.m. 12 p.m. I'll go to bed early, so maybe a bit later for you lot. That's the box where you wake up and you go, oh no, I've got all these things to do tomorrow. That's the important and urgent stuff that doesn't exist as much in an agency if you have a proper plan that's well communicated. Where you normally will live, if you're a great agency leader and you've got the foundations right, as you grow, the processes will help with the stress and the workload. You live in that not urgent but important box. Everything that is in the urgent and not important box is usually relatively small reactive stuff, like someone's on holiday and someone has to do something, so you delegate things out to people who know what they're doing because you've managed expectations. If you know where you're going, when any pressure comes up and you still know where you're going, you're a better leader. Better leaders are not full of emotional energy that is usually not that helpful to people. I found that I was a terrible leader when I was running my agency, when I was stressed, and I was stressed usually because I didn't know where I was going, because I didn't have a plan. I thought I was just going to make loads of cash flow looked great, but then something comes along, slaps you in the face, and you immediately take it out on everyone else for some reason, which is totally unfair. That being said, they probably did something wrong. Doesn't matter.
Of course.
I shouldn't have done these things. If you were a good leader, you don't buckle under the pressure because you know where you're going and you know the impact of the thing that's giving you the pressure.
Yeah.
Your people will buy into that vision of the future. So if you know where you're going and you are good enough and calm enough and consistent enough and you manage expectations properly and you remember that people buy from people and that they shouldn't be confused as to what they're doing, they will buy into that vision and they will stay with you longer. Not just clients, but staff. They will be there for the long haul because they can see a progression plan for them in the agency. They can see where they're aiming for, where you're aiming for, and how that aligns to them. The key thing from a foundational, fundamental level in an agency then, therefore, is to make sure that you have a shared set of values. And I'm not saying dictate them with a team. You need to spend a proper process. You guys went through it at Unicorn, and I remember essentially you came out of that and you were like, we already knew this, but we've actually now just articulated it and everyone knows that we all agree.
That was a fantastic feeling, actually. That was really, really good.
You were
because
for weeks.
What you are teaching us or what you're telling us or coaching us with is it's nothing coming from the space like, okay, this is totally alien. We've never heard about this. We don't understand anything. It's like, okay, of course, it's like this. We
Yep.
just didn't know how to do it, or how
Exactly that.
to make it our own. So
Ex-
you need help with that.
Exactly that. And the if you have a shared common set of values, everyone has different values because they're all from different places with different experiences.
Yeah.
But if you have a shared core set of values that everyone has come up with themselves as a team, and everyone kind of agrees to, that means that when you share your vision for the future, they don't immediately think this person just wants to get rich and work off of our backs and our labor.
Yeah.
What they do think is, I can see where I'm going inside this organization, and I know they're here with me, for me.
Yeah, and that's
So if you
important.
have a long horizon, it's a lot less stressful because people are much easier to lead. So if you have a long horizon, external challenges, clients leaving, hopefully not another COVID style type thing, external challenges are a little bit easier. So with a robust plan for the future, it helps to slow things down. My grandmother used to say to me, less haste, more speed, Christopher, which essentially means don't react to stuff so quickly and you'll get somewhere faster. In almost every single agency, clients pay monthly, staff get paid monthly, bills get paid monthly, something happens daily, something happens hourly, but the daily and the hourly stuff only has an impact after an amount of time. You don't have to react immediately to everything.
Yeah.
So if you've got a robust plan for the future in a year, 6 months, 3 years down the road, something that happens right now doesn't need an immediate stressful reaction. You can slow the thinking down, and from a foundational level, a slower thinking person is usually a clearer thinking person, and therefore the decisions you make when an external challenge comes along, a hell of a lot better outcomes. If you ask, when something happens externally, does this impact the plan? If it doesn't, and it's a bit like you're sailing a ship and it's a 1 degree course correction over 100 miles, that may well mean a large impact at the end because you will not end up where you're going. If it impacts the plan, slow the thinking down. You can plan what you do. If it doesn't impact the plan, you put it into the not important, not urgent box, which is, we don't need to worry too much about this because this is a storm whilst we're on the way there. It doesn't, it's not going to impact the plan. We're doing everything right. If it does impact the plan, though, you should be able to, with the clarity and the consistent team, consistently led team, have limited amounts of stress to deal with that, and everyone can make clearer decisions. Clearer decisions usually better. Longer horizons, therefore, mean longer lead times on issues. You can either see things coming sooner, or you have a longer amount of time to deal with them when they do come as a surprise. Which essentially means that you are less stressed running your agency, and it's always going to be stressful regardless. So that's the thing. So I like to talk about captains and ships, no idea why, but remember, the captain of the ship never steers or maintains the ship, unless they're on their own, which is then a boat. The captain sets the course, monitors progress, and manages performance. A happier crew knows that they can trust the direction and the means of travel. They don't have to be the ones doing all of the work. You can lead the people in the direction that they want to go in because they've agreed to the same set of values and the same vision for the future. And having a long vision means that the captain can keep in charge of maintaining the progress around things. So keeping all of this in balance is really, really important. So semi-parting tips here for a strong foundation: sell less, as in sell less stuff, sell as much of the thing you're really good at, but deliver it consistently good. If you know where you're going and consistently communicate it well, your clients will understand, your team will understand, and you will feel better because everyone is following the leader. A leader isn't a leader because they're just at the top. A leader has followers, and followers want to follow, not because they have to. If you measure results against the plan, it's easy to adjust accordingly. If something comes along and you just adjust things, you're not following a plan. You're creating stress for yourselves. It's harder. If you look at what you need in order to get to where you need to go and you're adjusting the plan accordingly, everything seems to work and everyone's happy. So a leader's job is to lead. Working in the business and not on it often causes imbalance. If you are delivering services as well as managing people, you then will find it a lot harder to get that right balance between vision of the future, consistently managing performance, and looking after your team. So the best thing you can do to deliver is to do your job, and that's be a leader of an agency. If you're building an agency from scratch and you are the only one in it, naturally you will have to work on things as well as in the business and on the business and everything along those lines, but you will not have to do that forever. So building these foundations is absolutely essential as early as possible, because the eventually these small things which you let go early doors will compound to a point where you're in a hamster wheel of get client, lose client, get staff, lose staff, find client, lose client, get office, lose client, and it just goes around and around in circles. And then eventually you will either burn out or the business will burn out from a cash flow point of view. If there are any questions, please let me know. LinkedIn, Twitter, etc.
And you are very happy to answer questions. I know that.
Oh, I am.
You're very passionate about this topic.
I really am. Only because, one, I've been there. I've done it. It's caused me untold amounts of stress and pressure. And I want to see people succeed. And there are a lot of very good people out there who are just trying to do a good job. And if you follow the basic rules of maintain consistency, focus on the future, build in resilience with a plan, and consistently communicate tangible value of the work you deliver, it stops being a product people don't like. It stops being a place where people just work for money, and people love what they do and love what they deliver, and everyone's happy.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I don't have any questions from the audience at this point, but I think that when people are watching this on YouTube, a replay, please reach out to Chris if you have any questions. I've asked. Oh, we have one question from Parker here. So Parker wonders which of your services have produced the most ROI for your clients and why, and how have you recommend strategic planning for customers with niche markets? I hope I read that right.
So two kind of questions together there. So first part, which of my services, I'm guessing you're talking about the services of OMG, so cool plug for me if it is. So the vast majority of the stuff that we do best is the long-term vision planning. The stuff that we did with you guys, for example, Ulrika, around the vision, the values, the purpose, the mission, and then the strategy means that within inside of 6 months, any agency knows exactly where it's going for the next 3 to 5 years, and you know the measures of success along the way. Along that route, there's lots of leadership challenges and questions from a mentorship point of view. The strategic planning stuff is it's a lot harder to do, to explain kind of without sort of showing anything here, but we always look at exactly where you are right now from a financial point of view, from an agency's scope and scale and everything point of view. And then we look at where you personally want to go in 3 to 5 years. And that where you personally want to go needs to be driven usually by the vehicle of your business. So then we create the business purpose behind the personal one. And then we tie all of that together in a thread of, in 3 years, 5 years, you want to be here. 1 year, you're here. 2, 0, and the thread along the way is all of the stuff that needs to get done in between. Hopefully that's
it was a very nice experience to go through that process. Actually, it was such a relief to have the vision, the mission, and everything, and the plan on paper. And
it's easier to have when a bad day in the office happens, but you have a plan and you know kind of, okay, this is just a bad day. That means it's only one bad day and it doesn't spiral into like a painful weekend or something like that.
Exactly that, actually. So we have one more question. When starting an agency from scratch and without an existing audience of contacts, would you suggest paid social ads to get your initial clients? So that is a digital marketing question.
Yeah. So I hate giving the digital marketing answer. It kind of depends on what it is that you're specifically selling. So if you start from absolute zero and you have no client base, you must have something somewhere that shows that you can do what you do. It might be previous experience at another agency or another business or something like that. So create case studies, create things which prove that you know what you're doing. Do an awful lot of personal brand building. personal brand building when you're starting any agency is absolutely amazing. At a certain point, you then have to make sure that personal branding isn't a ball and chain. You need to make sure your team actually have their own personal brands as well. But early days, personal branding through show of experience, go to events, speak to people, go on webinars, go on podcasts, listen to stuff, engage with your industry, and you'll find that referrals end up coming relatively quickly.
It's very effective.
Paid social works really, really well, though, if your client at the end of it is looking for a transactional service. So it's email marketing that is automated, done, okay, fine, a Facebook ad might work, or something transactional that is a technical fix on a website, which is very kind of CRM led. But otherwise, it's more difficult to do ads when you have no credibility at the back end, because if you're asking for money, you need to be able to prove you can do it.
So we're actually running out of time, but the questions are still popping in, and Anton is on vacation. So
yeah, Anton, if you're watching,
I guess we continue a bit.
Yeah, it's good. Let's so there's two quick. Let's do these. So the question from Stan and Elegant Online Solutions. One. So what's Stan saying? Hang on. There
Stan,
we go.
how do you suggest a step-by-step pricing stair step with upsell offers to bring your clients up to the next level? And Elegant Online Solution is, as freelancers using Duda, how does your advice still apply?
A freelancer is, I'll do Elegant first because it's super easy. Every single business is a business. Run it like a business. If you're running if you're a freelancer, run it like an agency, and very quickly you'll see the profit margins increase. If you're a freelancer and you run any product or any solution or any service as a single person on your own, then it very quickly becomes a lifestyle business, which essentially means you stop working, you stop getting paid. Run it like an agency. So listen to everything I just said. From Stan's question, you need to look at essentially fair market value for the majority of the services that you have, and that's market research at a beginning point. Never undercut just to get clients in, because it will pay you nothing in the long term. You'll lose a client and it will have cost you money because you've given discounts and things like that. But you make sure that if you say, I want to make a 20% net profit on every single client, then you price accordingly based on the costs. So you make a 20% net profit as a minimum level, but every single client that comes in, as you're doing your pitch and your onboarding all the way through to the very beginning of the services, you explain to them the other things which will help them in the long run. So if you drew a 3-year plan for a client and you said, year one, the thing you bought, in year two, the thing you bought plus this other thing, because this thing is actually going to be perfect to switch on once year one has worked really well, or 6 months or whatever else. So a bit like with feedback, don't let it be a surprise that you're going to upsell to them, because they will expect it, because that's how these things work. But if you make sure it's very clear that we'll offer these things when there's a tangible, good, value-based reason for it, and we've already proven ourselves, and we've made it very clear that we have other things, then great.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you, Stan, and Elegant Online Solutions as well. So thank you, Chris, for, again, enlightening me and giving me so much, and all the others in this webinar as well, the knowledge and your a tiny bit of your brilliance, your brilliant mind.
I only brought a little bit of brilliance today. Next webinar will be even a little bit more brilliance.
Oh my God, we're going to shine even more. I
told you I was modest.
Yes. So before we close this today, I just want to give a shout out, because Duda has a DudaCon, and we have a promo video that we want to show you.
Oh, awesome. I didn't know there was a promo video.
Oh, kick off the promo video.
Oh, I didn't.
I'm just gonna give you the link. I want to go.
I'm in. I
I'm
mean, I
in.
was already in, but I'm going to be in even more. That's pumped me up. That.
Shut up and take my money. Okay, thank you so much again, and thank you, Duda, for having us
Thank
and
you, everybody.
letting us rant a bit and chat a bit about our passion and our businesses and everything. And thank you, Chris, again.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
See you next time.
Yes. Awesome.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.